Good evening, everybody. I want to preface by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a PhD candidate, I'm not an economist, but somehow I'm here, standing in front of this official sign, this really, really cool red rug. So we're going to spend a little bit of time tonight trying to figure out why the heck I'm here, because I don't really know myself. I want to talk about something so simple. I think a lot of kids, when I've given some speeches, they come up and talk to me and ask me what the secret is, how you got there, how you get success, and everyone focuses on the big story. They make the big story the hero. And I think really, to me, there's this really small thing out there that is the true hero of the ultimate story. And that's the word yes. The action to actually go after the dream you've been dreaming. Simply answering an invitation that you got from a friend. Asking the person that you've been dying to go on a date with to go on a date. May set the course of the rest of your life. You may start a family with that person. The simple fact that your 2 feet hit the ground this morning when you woke up. Deciding to celebrate that. It can really, really change the tone and make it a little bit easier to obtain those dreams that you really want to chase after. I think society spends so much time trying to prepare for what they're going to do before they even actually start. It's going to be like this. It's going to be so big, and it's going to happen here, and I'm going to have this many employees, and I'm going to do this many things. And then by the time you know it, you never even decided to do it, or you scared yourself out of doing it. So tonight I'm going to tell a couple stories about my life and things that have happened in my life that really focus more on how I got there, how one of my favorite verses in the Bible talks about when Peter decided to step out of the boat and step onto the water. And I try to live my life that way. How can I get off the boat? How can I get going? How can I just let all fear aside and go? And it's not always business. It's not always a ministry thing. It's not always this big thing. It's something simple. And you'll hear a story tonight that recently happened that's really, really simple and probably one of the biggest moments in my life to date. So I'll start off by talking about my business, We Will, and how that got started. I had a friend of mine ask me one day, hey, I got an invitation for this funeral. It's a funeral service for all the homeless people who have died in Hartford this year. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Like, what? You got an invitation? How did you even get that invitation? Someone mailed it to you? What? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Great. I show up. It was this beautiful, absolutely beautiful, somber event. When it was over, they had some coffee and donuts and whatnot. And I saw this really rugged-looking man standing in the corner. He had camo pants on, camo jacket on, a military-grade rucksack to round up his outfit. And to be honest with you, he looked pretty terrifying. Looked like a guy that didn't really want you to approach him. So what do? I walk up to him, and I just say hi to him. Long story short, he had told me that it's probably been weeks, if not months, since anyone's ever had a conversation with him. And we ended up deciding that he would really enjoy it if I came out one morning and cooked him breakfast. And he said, oh yeah, the best time to do it would be before the sun comes up, because we try to get to our next place as early as possible. So I don't know, months went by maybe, and I finally said, oh, this guy told me you want me to cook him breakfast, I'm gonna do it. So I had some buddies come with me, 2 guys. We set up a grill right in downtown Hartford, and we had this little tiny cooler, thinking maybe 2 or 3 people are gonna come by. And we set up, we didn't even know there was a methadone clinic on the opposite corner. So the sun's not even up, it's dark, and we have all these people asking us, what are you doing? We're like, we're gonna cook breakfast, just go tell a couple people. And they're like, okay, we will. There was a line around the corner before we even cracked an egg, and we had like 2 dozen eggs, a little bottle of orange juice, and a box of Joe that serves maybe 10, 12 cups of coffee. So I went right on Facebook. I said, blah, 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 we need to do this. Fast forward, 2 years, I have this company now, and it all came from that moment. I started talking to people that were living out in the streets, and I saw this basic necessity that they needed, socks, a thing that I just open my drawer and grab a pair. I don't even look half the time what I'm grabbing, right? But it all happened because I answered that invitation from my friend with 99% of the time I would have said no, because I would have found some other thing I was doing that day, but for some reason I said yes, and it completely changed my life. Just a couple weeks ago, I want to talk about relationships now, because I think a lot of times with these talks they become so business-minded, and people want to know how you became successful. And you guys don't know if I'm successful or not. You don't know if anything that I've done has actually worked that well, right? So why does everyone assume that? So I want to talk about relationships. I heard what I think is God. To some it may be something else, but I heard a voice in my head tell me to text a friend that I hadn't talked to in many years and invite him to play hockey the next night. Sunday nights I play hockey recently, and it's been great. I texted him. I said, hey, want to come play hockey with me tomorrow night? And he said yes. He gets in my car the next night, and he said, not moments before you texted me, minutes, hours, whatever it was, I forget what he said, but he said I was on my knees at the end of my rope, and I was praying for my friends and for hockey to come back, and they both came back in that one text that you sent me. Now, to me, it was just something simple. I'm inviting my friend to come play hockey with me. To him, it was the beginning of his new life, a little bit of hope, and in turn, it gave me this sense of hope, you know. So, if you get an idea, if you have this thought to reach out to a friend, I think we always try to find where the benefit is for ourselves. What am I going to get out of it? Sure, we need to have some sort of success. I have 2 kids. I have this responsibility to provide for my wife and my kids. But if we start to just simply say yes to things, I know my generation, we've been taught the last, 5 or 6 years that we need to start saying no more. We need to start eliminating things from our life. We need to stop doing a million things. And I think there's a sense of wisdom there. And you certainly need to find certain things that are kind of toxic in your life. And if you are an extremely busy person, yeah, certainly. But I think we've kind of trained ourselves to just naturally say no before thinking, oh, maybe this is something that I want to try out. So recently, a friend of mine decided to start up kind of a men's group, whatever you want to call it, and we meet every other Sunday on Zoom, of course, right now. And none of us really know each other besides our connection is him. So he thought, I have this group of friends that I really think would all enjoy each other and build each other up, that iron sharpens iron mentality. So he started off the first Sunday by just introducing each one of us. And he said, Matt fosters a friendship unlike anyone that I've ever seen. He said, I think he texts me and calls me more than my wife does. And I started to reflect back on this one moment when I was, 14, 15 years old. I got invited to this very high-level hockey camp where a lot of Division I college coaches were going to be at, and it was right outside of Boston. And my father brought me, but he actually had somewhere to be. He had a job he had to be at. So he drops me off outside of Boston, and I go into the locker room. All these kids play with each other, and they're all talking to each other. I'm all alone, and that can really do a lot for your performance where you feel kind of exiled. So I didn't know my dad called his friend, and he said, hey, my son's all alone. Tomorrow, would you mind driving down to Boston, watch him, tell me how he's doing, and then can you take him out for lunch or something in between sessions? He said yes. He goes, I see him there. It makes me have this sense of confidence, this sense of comfort, acted like I was his own son. He was answering the call to his friend, and he went above and beyond the call of duty. He didn't bring me a bag lunch. He didn't just come and watch and text my dad. I don't even know if texting was really a big thing back then. After the session, he takes me to the nicest restaurant he could find, probably spent $500-600 on oysters and all kinds of seafood, and I was blown away. And I don't really think I knew at the time the impact that was going to have on me. But now as a parent, and when my friend said that about me, I realized that moment right there changed the way I viewed friendship. I thought that's what you do. I thought when your friend calls you and asks you to do something, that's how you're supposed to do it on the highest level. On the topic of friends, 4 years ago, I got a phone call from my father, and I answered it the same way. I normally, hey, what's up? Hey, Dad, how you doing? He goes, son, I need you to sit down. And I said, okay, what's going on? And he said, I think your best friend might have passed away. And I go, what are you talking about? And now my best friend was a third. So his father, his grandfather, they all share the same name. And I'm like, no, he's 26. It's not him. It's his father or his grandfather. I didn't wish it was any of them, but I had a decision to make. I either live in this mystery or I drive down the road to his parents' house and figure out if my best friend had passed away. I think that's going to bring me closure, and I'm going to know. I open the door, or I knock on the door. I remember his aunt answered the door, and she just nodded her head, and I'm crying, and I go inside, and his mom comes walking down the stairs, and they said she hasn't come downstairs since it happened. And she just held on to me. She just held on to me and would not let go. And it gave her this sense of peace. And we spent the whole night talking about stories, and I was telling them stories that they had never heard before. They're laughing, and we're crying, and it felt good. It felt good to reflect, and they finally had a chance to take a deep breath. My phone rang the next day, and it was his father. And I knew right then and there. I started crying. I picked up the phone, and he said, I'd be honored if you would give the eulogy. Now, I'm 26 years old. I never imagined I'd lose a friend, and I also never imagined I'd be preparing a speech on a day like that. But then I thought, this is amazing. I get to brag about my friend while some of my other buddies are maybe getting drunk and standing in the back of the church and cursing God and figuring out why. I get to stand up front and bring people peace and get to brag about my friend and tell stories that people have never heard. And it all goes back. I decided to say yes to my desire to drive to his parents' house and bring them peace. Now, there was a little bit of selfishness there because I was torn up. I didn't know if my friend was dead or alive. I was calling him. Obviously, he's not picking up. And I said, I gotta go figure this out. So I hope the takeaway from tonight and from the stories that I've told you that you never really know. And I think a lot of people right now in this state of the world, everyone has an opinion on what to do, what not to do. And they may not necessarily have ever even been involved in that topic ever in their life. I encourage you to go try something new. I encourage you to go actually live a little bit of your life. I encourage you the next time your friend asks you to do something, maybe say yes. I'm pretty introverted, extroverted kind of person. There's a lot of times where I just want to just be home with my family. And I've realized that that word yes holds a lot of power. And if I can leave you with one thing, it's go try something new. It could be something small, it could be something major. Just go try something new. Thanks, everybody.